that's where I kind of go there, because we know how those injuries go. And typically it's just not uncommon for a pitcher who comes off Tommy John to have to shut it down for a little bit.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
It is your boy, Evan Closky.
Back again, and we appreciate it as always, bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's game 162 just like us,
or you remember those early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs and Carl Crawford,
we are here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
And every season they've gone to the playoffs except for 2024. In the meantime, however, grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on the X Machine and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Got to tell my boy Stu to use that code.
He doesn't need to use the code. I think he's doing just okay. But
okay.
He can if he wants.
Yeah.
Evan, let's get right into it. Over the weekend, the Rays, some good news or weird news, the fact that they beat the Orioles in a series for the first time since August of 2022. But we had a little slide there with Jeffrey Springs hitting the IL with elbow fatigue, and in his place, Tyler Alexander gets the promotion. The Springs to the IL with arm elbow issues. Scale of 1 to 10. How worrisome is this if you're a Rays fan, Rays organization?
A 3. I feel like if there was something to worry about, you'd already know about it. He's not the first guy who's come back from Tommy John, pitched, get a little arm fatigue. You know, he was on the shelf for, a year there before really throwing. And then, you know, we only got to see him for about a month, but then you got to factor in all his rehab time and what he was putting in there. So it's probably to be expected, which is why, you know, even going into next year, don't just think that Shane McClanahan's going to come back and it's going to all go fine and dandy, right? It might take some time. So I'll go with a 3 until there's reason to believe that this is more serious than just a, hey, let's do right by you, shut it down, play it on the safe side, especially since we're not competing for anything.
No.
That's very
yeah.
fair.
Like, why are we going to risk it in 2024? Now, you said a 3. Now, can I convince you to change that to a 4.75? And I will tell you why. Because it's elbow, baby. They didn't say no oblique. They didn't see hammy. They didn't say like, oh, he's got a bone spur in the foot. It's elbow, man. Like, doesn't that automatically elbow after TJ? Don't you already go automatically to a bottom 3? Like, what does a 3 mean to you?
A 3 is elevated. I mean, like, you know, I guess here's the thing, like an oblique, when they say up, this person has an oblique injury, that's an 8 to me, right? Okay. That's like, oh crap. Like, this person's probably, I will say, like, Brandon Lowe had a fairly quick oblique stint, but it usually, like, you have an oblique injury and then you come back and then you also swing a different way because you don't want to aggravate it. So it's really like, are you really back? Which was the whole Josh Lowe thing, right? I mean, took him, then he had something else on top of the oblique, but I think the oblique really screwed up his mechanics from the first place. So that's where I kind of go there, because we know how those injuries go. And typically it's just not uncommon for a pitcher who comes off Tommy John to have to shut it down for a little bit because it's just not feeling right. So, I mean, even think back to Tyler Glasnow when he came back, his like second or third rehab start. It was something like he had to shut it down, and we were like, uh-oh. And then ultimately he made his next start. It was just like, we're going to make it precautionary. It's just with Springsy, he is in the league, and they are kind of twiddling with some arms here and bringing people up and getting a different look. So I also think there's some flexibility to say, hey, let's give you a little break here. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a nothing burger. I'm just saying that if it was something bigger than just shutting down and just taking a break, I feel like we would have known about that by now. I feel like that wouldn't be like a sneak it up on us type of move.
All that said, so Springs this year, 33 innings pitched, elbow injury issue taken into account, everything taken into account, getting the workload back up to snuff. What are you looking for him in 2025? Like,
and then also, how many innings did he pitch in the minors?
A good 20, right?
Okay, yeah, I disregarded the minors innings, and I should have included those. So
on my way,
if we want to ballpark it, 55 to 60.
55 to 60.
Can he go triple digits in 2025 then?
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, okay. I would imagine they're going to probably push him around the Littell side of what is Littell, like 120? What did he get shut down for as a little bit of a break?
Around there.
In that ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, so
32 innings in the minors for Jeffrey. So 32 plus 33, so it's what, 65?
Yeah, okay. 65. Yeah.
So can he do double that in 2025?
Probably. He probably could. I would look, the Rays typically when they go throughout a season, especially with the depth they have, they like to give people some innings breaks. Now, Taj Bradley had an injury entering the season, so his innings was already managed because of that. Pepio had 2 different IL stints. His innings were managed because of that. Who else? Springs, obviously. I'm trying to think of some. Boz, injury entering the season. His innings were managed. Who else that I'm blanking out on? Because Tyler Alexander, I don't really put into the same category. He's been around the block for a little while, even if this is his first year with the Rays. The Rays don't have any long-term attachment to him. He is here to eat some innings, and so that I don't really take into account. And then with Littell really wasn't on the IL. I don't think he was on the IL ever. So that was managed. They said, we gotta, limit you a little bit here. We're gonna hit the pause button. Yeah. So that's why, like, entering next year, I would be really surprised. They shouldn't be entering spring training with like, these are our 5 guys, because my guess is they'll have like 6 or 7, and they'll want to shelve a couple of them out of the gates, and then give some other guys a chance to eat some innings. And then as those, as they all come back and you start kind of building towards mid-season, then you might be able to trade some of your depth and say, all right, we're going to go with this group, and we have like our number 6 kind of hanging out in AAA, or we have that kind of safety net. That could be Tyler Alexander. I don't know. But yeah, I think that it would shock me if they push Springs to the bitter end next year. But I think 120, 130 is a fair kind of range for him of if he's fully healthy, what he can go.
I think Evan has a little bit of a password hacking in him, because he basically just stole one of our Closky on the clock questions that we were going to ask in the third segment. But do not fret, people, because there are plenty of those. But what you have to take good care of right now is game time. People. Game time. Okay? Look, you want comedy, theater, soccer, baseball, football, basketball tickets, it's game time. You can see the seat view right on the app. It's pretty cool. It's actually my favorite thing. You get a panoramic view of your seats before you even buy. That's awesome. And they've got zone deals, which is, hey, I don't care where I go. I just put it here, right in there, man. Like Alex Jackson used to do with Tosh Bradley on the mound. Hey, just put her here, wherever, just on this area. And guess what? You save money with these zone deals. So today, take the guesswork out of buying tickets using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Boys, what time is it?
Game time.
It's game time.
It is. We also want to tell you to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on the YouTubes or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, getting into another topic here, Evan, and you've put us at rest a little bit, not as concerned as maybe some others out there regarding the Springs news. Look, the Rays aren't going to the playoffs unless they find a way to win every single game the rest of the season. And even
no, bro, they can lose like 2.
Okay, all right, they go on however many games they have left and 2 losses.
Yeah,
then
that's
we're
right.
in. That's all we need. It can happen.
All you need to do.
15-2.
What's really sad is if they would have won that, they would have came back to beat the Phillies in that game 1. They only beat 4 out because the Twins and Royals are both kind of losing right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy, and if they didn't trade a bunch of standout players, but
Or if Phil Maton had been on the team,
Well, let's
that would
be
have been like
honest.
4 wins.
And if Alex Jackson wasn't
Out
on
of
the
all
roster,
those guys who have traded, I think Eflin's been the only one that's really been like, he's doing
He's
some
shoved.
big thing.
He's
Right?
shoved. Although I think that Yandy kind of, I know I just basically hijacked the first question there, Kev. But did Yandy also kind of bat flip him a little bit in Baltimore? It was kind of dope. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I missed it.
I don't know if I got to go back and see. But Yandy usually when he has a no doubter gives the old bat flip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
to annoy,
The
that was-
homers are few and far between. So
I don't think you're going to stop your follow through movement when you know it's gone because of who you're facing.
fair
So,
enough.
all that said, the Rays aren't making the playoffs unless crazy miracle happens. So the idea is, one of our thoughts is, who has the most to prove on this Rays roster? And I have it broken out basically into 2 segments here, or 2 categories, I should say. One, among the newbies, September-ish call-ups, i.e. Aranda, Driscoll, Montgomery, throw Shenton in there, and veterans, big leaguers who have a modicum of experience at the show, be it Siri, Walls, Morel, and DeLuca. So out of those 2 sets, among the newbies and the veteran types, give me one player that has the most to prove and most to show for the Rays this month going into the offseason.
I think it's 100% Johnny DeLuca. Not only with him kind of getting shoved into center field to see if he can handle that defensively, because honestly, he's been an elite defender when it comes to right field.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, I think average, above average. I got to double check recent numbers now. Slightly above average in left, but he has not been good in center field. He's been below, I don't know if it's below average, but he's a negative RDS guy. Mm-hmm. So I think DeLuca can prove, I can play center field, be very good defensively there, and also flash his bat because, he's trying to make a movement towards, I'm a starter next year for you. That's what he's fighting for because for most of the season, he has looked like a bench bat that, we have injuries, we'll put you in, you'll get some playing time. But I don't know, up to this point, and he's gone on a recent heater. So he's done some really good things with more playing time, with the idea that, hey, you're going to be you're a little bit of the everyday guy right now. But just, even before that, it's just tough to imagine, like, hey, I'm going to enter next season with Johnny DeLuca starting in my outfield. I just don't – I don't know how that works itself out unless you, again, fix other things around him. And then you'd have to potentially move Josh Lowe to maybe left field if you want the best, like, defensive lineup out there, if we're being honest. So, yeah.
How does a Richie Palacios, Johnny DeLuca platoon for 2025 move you?
Well, Palacio he's a different type of player than DeLuca because Richie can play anywhere. That's the beauty in him. Like, let's say you bring back, and the expectation is they will bring back Brandon Lowe.
Mm-hmm.
We know Brandon Lowe is going to get hurt. We know he's going to get hurt. But you can put Richie Palacio at second base if things go poorly, right? If things go south with Brandon in an injury sense. Not to mention you can also put Meade there as well. But let's say you have an injury to your outfielder. He can go there as well. And the fact that he can play infield and outfield in most positions, he'll be able to get people off their feet once a week as well. So Richie, let's say in a fully healthy lineup, I think can play 3 times a week just by filling in gap. Oh, like we're going to not run Junior into the ground. Let's put him at third. We want to get Brandon off his feet against a lefty. Let's put Palacio at second. Oh, we want to give a break, Josh Lowe facing a lefty. We'll put DeLuca in right and we'll put Richie in left. There's a whole slew of ways that Richie can be used. Mm-hmm. So in a 162 game season, he's going to figure it out. Like, we'll put him somewhere. DeLuca ain't coming into the infield. So it's a little bit, and the big question is can't even put him in center, is that too much of a hit in center field? So that's where it's kind of like, if you're going to be a corner outfielder, you got to provide more pop. Or you got to hit for a way better average. So that's the problem that it comes down to with the Rays for so many of their players is like, yeah, I get you like them defensively, but you are sacrificing too much offense where other teams are sacrificing defense for loads of offense.
Yeah.
So at certain positions, you can't just be all defense and no offense. And we've gone through that a million times.
We've talked about how, like, basically you can't have a Walsh, you can't have a DeLuca. Like, it's just too many.
Yeah.
Okay, so now getting to the other part of what I was going for, among the new faces we've seen over the last couple weeks, Aranda, Driscoll, Montgomery, Shinton, out of that group, and maybe there's another name I forgot, who has the most to prove this month, showing the Rays what they can do and why they have staying power?
I think it's Aranda, in my opinion. A personal favorite of mine. Everyone knows that.
Yep.
The fact is, getting you should, in September, get a full month of playing time. You can have a couple of off days here or there, lefty, sure, why not? But for the most part, I want to see Aranda in the lineup, how he hits, because they need hitting in 2025, right? Yeah. You don't have to be a genius to know that. And his bat has been fairly prolific at the minor league ranks. And he's a defensive liability. But he has to prove that his bat can mitigate that, and you can put him somewhere where he's not screwing you over. So with the glove, that is. So to me, it's Aranda. And all the other guys you mentioned, like Logan Driscoll isn't going to ever really hit significantly at the major league level. Maybe a backup for Logan Driscoll is probably, good enough for him, at least in the way that I kind of view him as a prospect. You're not expecting him to have a monster role. I forget, Austin Shenton, I would like for him to get more at bats. He's a little bit kind of blocked there and figuring out Aranda first. Yeah. So I would love to see what Austin Shenton can do as well. But, the Rays are a little bit loaded on lefty first basey type bats who have some pop, but some other kind of underlying issues. Aranda doesn't really have the pop. Shenton does have the ability for high slugging. Then you got Bob Seymour in AAA, who is kind of all or nothing type. He's going to yak one out of the park, or he's going to strike out. I think he's got like a 36% strikeout rate in Durham. But his OPS and slugging, I believe, are really good. So, but that's my point. There are a lot of these guys where they got to make a decision, and my issue with the Rays a lot of time, they get log jammed and they're forced to make moves, and sometimes you get burnt trading a great piece somewhere else because you just didn't have room for them, and you're making an educated guess right now, and currently you're not, and not to mention, even if you plan for 20 games, it's not the largest sample size ever, but you got to get them at least to see what they can have cooking. But yeah, the Rays are a little bit too loaded at first base in their system. Like I would be shocked if they didn't make some sort of deal to offload someone there.
Yeah, well, if the Rays are loaded on first baseman, I think Kevin is loaded with green Skittles. And Kevin, if you had a place to go to use those green Skittles, where would that be?
Well, one of those places, among others, would be Prize Picks. And that is because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike those other apps that are out there on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And here's what's cool. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Picks, they put their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. Highlight, underline, emphasize that. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. We also want to tell you that you can catch every pitch of the Rays hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rays. Also bookmark si.com/MLB/Rays for written content about your Tampa Bay Rays. So Ulises, Evan, as Evan mentioned, Aranda, DeLuca, they're on the clock this month. Now Evan Closky's on the clock for one of our premier segments. And we got a couple questions that we got to fire at him, don't we?
Yeah, but I think we need to listen to this.
Closky on the clock.
Closky on the clock.
Closky on the clock.
Closky on the clock here.
There we go.
I have
one of these days we'll play the entire 15-second liner and people will go nuts. Yeah. Ulises, do you want to do the honors with the first question?
I do, because we were just talking about him. So how apropos. Does Jonathan Aranda survive the offseason as a Rays player?
Yeah, I'll say yes. I don't think they have found out enough about him. I think it would be pretty foolish to cast him aside without giving him a full season, hopefully healthy on your team. If next year he gets hurt, then you readjust from there. But I think it would be a silly move to get rid of Aranda when you never gave him a shot, and you enter 2024 saying, oh yeah, we're going to give him a shot. This is going to be the first year that he has a clear path to playing time. You never give him playing time, and then you watch him somewhere else. I just think that's bad process. So I'll say yes, he'll be with the Rays next year.
That was concise. That was pretty good. We were talking about that earlier in the week. We both, I think the three of us, believe that Jonathan Aranda can hit if just given the time. Like, he has shown that he can hit, and if you give him the time, but he hasn't been given that time. And I don't know, it feels like the fact that they haven't, I know the injuries, but it just seems like he's not part of the plans. It just feels that way. Now, everything you said
I
makes
understand.
sense.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's just, I think it'd be foolish to move on. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
he's not like a full-time player, but he's still great depth. Like
You'll hit, yeah.
All right,
your team that can hit, and he's a guy who's proven to hit.
in the minors.
I'm going to keep him. Yeah, correct. I mean, in the minors, yes, but not many minor leaguers hit in AAA. What was he last year? Like 340?
346, I think.
Yeah,
Something like
I
that.
don't know. He obliterated that pitching. And
Yeah.
not saying it's going to translate to him being like an all-star here. I'm just saying, like, those are guys you want to give a shot, which is, I mean, and I believe he did so with a decent slugging as well. So,
Okay. Do the Rays need to do something with the catcher position in the offseason, even if they have positive outcomes the rest of this month with Driscoll Rortvedt? In other words, is that a good enough tandem, or do they need to find a better option or options this offseason?
yes, 100,000 times yes. Driscoll and Rortvedt are not options for you to enter next season. Like, I don't know how many times I can say this. They grossly mismanaged the catcher position entering 2024. There are some things out of their control. The catcher position was in their control. Their evaluations of Alex Jackson, their evaluations of Rene Pinto were terrible. It did not work out. And they need someone. Even last year when they had Bethancourt and Mejia and whatever else they flung out there, they still generated like 20 some odd home runs with this group of random players. I can live with that random collection if you hit it out of the yard, but Rortvedt and Driscoll are not going to do that consistently. Rortvedt is a backup. He's not a starter, and he's proven that more over the year than when he's had a couple of months where he was on a heater. He's a backup, and that's it. Like, he is not a starter. They need someone who can actually hit home runs, especially at that catcher position. It's great. Play good defense. Find defensive-minded catchers who strike out 1,000,000 times and put the ball over the dang fence 20 times a year. That's all I need.
You want a Florida man. You want a Mike Zunino. You don't want a Mike Zunino. Which,
yeah, I mean, Mike Zunino would be awesome. It's just,
Man, it's kind of not shocking, but Closky came out firing. I was almost resigned to the fact, hey, it is what it is. We're going to have to roll with Driscoll and Rortvedt in 2025 just based on the Alex Jackson experience. So anything's better than that. So I was just resigned to the fact that, hey, let's give it a shot in 2025. But no siree.
that sounds like
Evan is on Eric Neander and company to make a major maneuver here.
Yeah, I just, like, it's not good enough. Like, you're near dead last in catching offensive production, and your catching is not otherworldly. Like, again, this is what I say about, like, Taylor Walls. You would have to be Ozzie Smith, not Ozzie Guillen. Ozzie Smith, though he was a fine player in his time.
Yeah,
Ozzie Smith to really convince me, and he's very good, but he's not that. You need the problem this year is home runs. They are lacking at the catcher position. They're lacking at it first base, corner outfield. There's a lot of spots where every other team has mostly every other team has production there. And I don't care about averages like the average fan does. It's not what I look at. This team is ultimately not in the playoffs this year, A, because of some injury issues, B, some untimely blow-ups in the bullpen, and 3, because they cannot hit the ball out of the ballpark. Forget about the averages. I can live with a 230 average. The home runs are terrible. And if they would have hit more home runs, it would have led to more wins, which would have gave them more of a chance to make the playoffs.
I have one last one. Kevin, I don't know if you have one, but
yeah, we'll each. Well, I'll let you throw this question out. I might have another one depending on how crazy that Evan goes with his answer.
All right, let's see this one. There's again platoon talk. We talked about Yandy Diaz. We talked about Brandon Lowe. Brendan Lowe has been seeing some first base action. Does a Yandy Diaz and Brendan Lowe platoon at first base make sense using the DH spot to have both in the lineup against righties or some select lefties for 2025?
Yeah, I'm really not 100% sure how this Yandy Bilal situation is going to work out in 2025. They certainly need Brandon's bat when healthy. Also, Yandy Diaz isn't getting any younger, but he's certainly the more prolific bat, the most prolific bat on the team, and can make contact at an insane rate. I think that's like a decent thought, but like the fact is, are you really going to platoon two of your better hitters? Like in the end, you got to play them both, but it is worth discussing. Maybe Yandy and Bilal do rotate to a degree at that position, and you figure it out from there. So
I should have prefaced this by saying I want to keep Brendan Lowe healthy, and by moving him to first base, I would be able to do that. And if I want both of them in the lineup, then that DH spot becomes that avenue.
I don't think Brandon Lau's getting hurt playing the field. You know, this isn't like Aranda who got hurt fielding ground balls, right? I mean,
True.
Brandon Lowe has a back injury, a chronic back injury, and he hurt his oblique this year. And then he had like his finger thing or whatever.
Finger, yeah.
So it has nothing really to do with the field. Honestly, I think his fielding has gotten better the last couple of years. It's a really confusing situation to go with, and there's maybe a thought process and I'll throw this half-baked hot take out there. I haven't given it any deep thought, so I haven't crunched the numbers or looked at the possibilities or if it's a fair trade or whatever, even if whatever Toronto has. But let's say with Toronto, you call them up and say, what if we work out a deal where you give us Bo Bichette for the year? We'll send you Yandy Diaz, and let's figure out some nooks and cranny with that.
I think I would put up with Bo Bichette errors on the field than Taylor Walls at bats.
Well,
I would make that trade.
So you get to keep a hot. I mean, you would hope that this was like a down, weird injury year for Bo Bichette.
Right.
You fix shortstop. You fix shortstop. It's a 1-year rental.
You only need 1 year, baby. Carson's coming.
That's right. It's a 1-year rental. It provides you a little bit more pop than what Yandy can provide. Yandy isn't getting any younger. Also, I believe Toronto can at least get Yandy for another year if they wanted, right? They can essentially get 2 years out of Yandy versus 1 out of Bo if they're not going to re-sign Bo. To me, that would make a lot of sense for this team to get weight off of first, the logjam there. Mm-hmm. Fix shortstop, even if not defensively. Or you can also potentially move. I don't know if Bo can move to second, and you put Caballero at short. But whatever, you can tinker with there. There's a lot of things you can do. But ultimately, I think that that would be a thought process, though. Historically speaking, the Rays are willing to just murder offensive numbers at center field and at shortstop as long as you build around it. So, that's just, again, I have to, right? There's a bunch of things I have to look at. I got to look at how.
If you crunch those numbers, it would be awesome if we could present it next week when we have you on.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at. I'll give it a week and present it. But that's, to me, that's the type of deal that I think would make a lot of sense for the Rays, of how they can keep their offensive production entering next year, while also
clearing up some space in the field,
and also creating a direct path. But to me, I don't know how much. And that's the thing is, what prospects are you going to get for Yandy and you might be able to get some, but you just loaded up on prospects this trade deadline. I don't see the need for you to throw like we got to trade Yandy for some prospects. No, it's just
No.
Evan just gave us a whole episode topic idea.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about next time.
Buy low for Bo. Let's make it happen.
If you want to get a sneak peek about what we're going to be talking either topic Tuesday or topic Thursday with Evan, you just got the sneak peek.
I think that's a great idea. Also might be, I don't know, he's heard some comments from Bo, a little wishy-washy with the whole Toronto situation, but get him back in his hometown, St. Petersburg, and sleep in his hometown bed.
I think that's I really do think it's but again, I gotta look at how bad the defense is and if it's viable.
We got some work to throw some scenarios into MLB trade values.
There you go.
Spit out.
Evan, Locked On Rays just gave.
I don't think the problem is with like trade values. Oh well, there's a fight in the Rays Phillies game.
Rays players fighting each other, or is this between the Phillies and the Rays?
Not 100% sure because I was talking to you guys. I see Taiwan Walker in the middle of the scrum here. Kyle Schneider is ushering people out of the way. Kind of just see a lot of nothingness. Just everybody.
That'll be the highlight of the game. A fight. Cool.
Yeah. Well, considering Lucetta and Richard Lovelady got torched in the 8th inning, at least it provides something.
Well, you know, we don't get torched here at Locked On Rays because when we have Evan Closky on, it's always a pretty good time. And guess what, Evan? If people want to get to know you better, if they want to know more about everything that you have, what can they do to get that?
You can head to @eClosky WTSP on the X. You can also head to 10tampabay.com, our 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. We air the Blitz there, our Bucks preview show every Saturday. On Sundays, we also air it on 10 Tampa Bay at 8:30 in the morning. So all those outlets, you can find us. And I highly suggest you comment on anything, subscribe, hit me up. I'll respond 99% of the time as long as you're not a jerk.
On that note, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and check us out tomorrow and Friday. We got a lot more coming on the program. We appreciate Evan for joining us. As always, talk to you soon.